Hello, and welcome to Soroptimist International Voices, where we give a global voice to women and girls. SI Voices is a space where women's stories and issues are heard as we celebrate 100 years of our remarkable organization. We will reveal and rediscover the history of our global movement while educating and informing on many of the key challenges affecting women and girls today.
Hello, I'm Liz. I'm from Salisbury in the UK, and I'm delighted today to be welcoming Mary Muia, who's our United Nations rep in Nairobi. She's the Soroptimist Centre contact out there, so she's really well plugged in to the UN Environment Programme, which is based there. I'm so pleased to be able to welcome you, Mary, and to share your passion today for the environment and how we can and must work to protect it. Welcome, Mary.
Thank you, Liz. It's my pleasure to have this conversation with you in regards to environment. As the center contact here in Nairobi, my work really involves being a representative with other key stakeholders in the Environment Assembly when the member states are discussing matters to do with environment. I purely follow up on women, girls, and the environment.
That's great. Well, I do hope that we're starting on the road to recovery now, and this time is crucial for the environment in particular. I know that the UN Secretary General has said we need to turn the recovery into a real opportunity to do things right for the future. How do you see the world building back better and building back greener? What does it mean for us?
So basically, this means that building back better is to strengthen the community so that the window of opportunity that has followed a given disaster, and in our case, it's the pandemic of COVID-19, will introduce resilience into our communities, and then we will be able to eliminate them being vulnerable if future disasters strike. For the part of building back better and greener, then it means that we have to think about also involving them in matters to do with climate mitigation.
Well, as Soroptimists, our mission is to make the world a better place for women and girls. So why is the planting of trees so important for the environment and for women in particular?
Trees and women are inseparable. Women connect with the earth. The earth is the one that gives birth to life. Women have proven to be leading in the way that we work towards sustaining the climate change solutions. A lot of initiatives have come from women. If we plant vegetables as our food, the same vegetables will be our economic empowerment, and it will be making our environment green. So tree planting is really connected to us as women.
Well, I must tell you the story, Mary, of how our organisation first got involved with trees. As you know, we're celebrating the centenary of our founding of our very first club in Oakland, California, which was founded in 2021. It's really relevant that their very first project that the club adopted was Save the Redwoods. And this was to save the great ancient trees which were being felled. The club there lobbied the legislature, and they powerful lumber companies, and they won lots of public support. And it resulted in a major portion of the forest being set aside as protected land, which still exists today. So it's lovely that our first project was all about trees. So I've been reading about the UN Decade on Ecosystem Restoration. I think the hashtag is Generation Restoration. Can you tell us a little bit more about this?
Liz, I'm very excited to hear that part of history of Soroptimists. In fact, it confirms that women have proven to be leading the way towards a more equitable and sustainable solutions to climate change. And across all the sectors, women's innovations and expertise have transformed lives and livelihoods and have increased climate resilience and overall well-being. About the UN Decade on Ecosystem Restoration and Generation Restoration, this is really a bright concept towards the right direction at the right time. Generation restoration simply means that we all have got to work together to bring life and function back to our ecosystems through extensive and proactive restoration building. This will ensure that our degraded environment will be improved as a habitat for wildlife, and it will protect our soils, the watersheds, and support economic resilience. Only when we have healthy ecosystems can we enhance people's livelihoods, and we counteract the climate change and stop the collapse of biodiversity.
So, Mary, it's really all about planting trees again, isn't it? Protecting the ecosystem. Maybe I should tell you a bit about what's going on around the world in terms of tree planting. Following in the footsteps of that founder club, Soroptimist clubs all over the world are planting trees to mark the centenary of our organisation. It's a nice thing to do. And obviously, as you're saying, it's going to help protect our ecosystem for the future. SI Vienna, Donau, are planting the first SI forest near Vienna in November. And I understand that all 4 clubs in Mongolia always include tree planting activities as part of their annual club programs, which is a really interesting thing that they do. Some clubs have planted trees in memory of members that we've lost, such as SI Leeds in Yorkshire in the UK. And they've been doing this for the last 2 years and still continue to mark the contributions made by their members with tree planting. Over in India, SI Madura have invited clubs around the world to join their tree planting project. And I know that SI Aalst in Belgium and SI Dallas in the States have already done so. They've planted the second of 2 tiny forests of dense native trees. I have to tell you that fruit trees are really popular with Soroptimists too. And SI Barbados are planting 10 cherry trees at the Soroptimist Senior Citizens Village. The beauty of these cherries is they're packed with vitamin C, and the residents of the village will be able to harvest the fruit. Over in Malta, the club have planted 25 olive trees in the ground of their local women's shelter. And the residents there use the olive harvest for cooking, and they also sell any surplus to raise funds for the shelter. And SI Bristol, one of the oldest clubs in the UK, recently celebrated their own centenary, and they planted an oak tree as part of the Queen's Commonwealth canopy here in the UK. And in fact, my club is planning to plant some trees at a country park near us. What about your club? I think there's been some tree planting in Kenya as well, hasn't there?
Excellent work for all the clubs that you've outlined and the work that they are doing in tree planting. It is similar, the same here in my country, in Kenya. As Soroptimists, we have really been on the forefront in planting trees and partnering with government and other interested parties to improve our forest cover. For example, in the year 2007 and 2008, if you recall, in Kenya, we did have a post-election violence, and most families, in particular women and children, were displaced. As a result of this, it required these families to be resettled back. And part of the project that Soroptimists were involved in was to use tree planting as a means for peace and bringing harmony in these communities. So we did partner with the Office of the Prime Minister to actually be allocated a 20 hectares part of the forest, which had been deforested. And as Soroptimists, we planted over 50,000 trees in a period of 3 years. Not only have we done that project, but we have also been able to engage in another tree planting initiative that we call Trees for a Solar Lantern. And this again was undertaken by clubs that are in Kisumu County, Mumias, and also Eldoret. This particular Tree for Solar Lantern initiative encourages women to plant trees in exchange of a solar lantern, a type of lantern that will use solar for them to be able to light their houses. You can imagine in our rural areas, we do not have electricity in all the households, and therefore the solar lanterns really help the women and their children to be able to have lighting in their households. Another initiative, Liz, that we've had to undertake as Soroptimists in Kenya is Women and Climate Change, a project that has been able to support the adaptation of many other households to be able to have cleaner production initiatives. This also encouraged many of the households that have participated to at least plant 5 trees in their compound. And I tell you, the numbers are quite great. And each of the households that have participated now can show both indigenous trees and also fruit-based trees that they have planted as a result of their interaction with Soroptimist in Kenya. Recently, Liz, our Women, Water and Leadership project did the same. in having women access leadership and water management resources in our community, we did have 3 project sites where the women planted trees, and in total, each women group planted 50 trees in 3 different counties. And each one of them were getting the tree seedlings from Soroptimist in partnership with the government. So all in all, I can say that tree planting is really well embraced by the Soroptimist in Kenya, and they use this as a way of reaching and empowering the women at the household level.
Well, Mary, those are great projects. And actually, what a difference they must be making to life in Kenya. That's fantastic. Congratulations. Well, I suppose we should say to everyone who's listening, go out and plant some trees. Either get involved with a local Soroptimist club near you or just plant trees yourself. But it would be really great to hear that everybody went out and planted some more trees. Another thing we can do, of course, is to make our voices heard, which is something Soroptimists particularly enjoy doing, and I think do quite well. I will say to you, Mary, that your UN Centre in Nairobi is one of the few I haven't visited yet. So maybe I should find out a bit more from you, because I understand the 5th UN Environment Assembly is being held in Nairobi, February 2021, and that's now going to be virtual. And I've heard that the theme is strengthening actions for future to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. That's quite a mouthful, but I know you've been involved in the planning for it. Can you tell me more about it?
Liz, I think it's going to be good to have you come to Nairobi, and the United Nations Environment Assembly, the 5th session that happens in February 2021, you are correct to say that it will be virtual. There is a proposal to have a follow-up one-on-one session that will now take place in February 2022 to complete the discussion of the theme that you've just outlined. That will be a perfect time for you to visit Nairobi. And we will not only have the 5th assembly taking place, but it also coincides with the commemoration of UN Environment Program turning 50 years since it was started. So this will really be a big event that will culminate into a milestone that takes forth climate change, tree planting, and us as women, our voices need to be there so that we can be able to march forward with the rest of the world to saving our planet.
Mary, I know your voice will be heard, and I'm sure there'll be lots of Soroptimists behind you going out there to make our point as civil society and stakeholders. But there's something that we could do right now from our desks and phones straight away, isn't there? Tell me more about the Microsoft Ecosia search engine. I've heard about that, and I know you know a lot about it.
This is a very innovative search engine, which works just like the Google search engine. But the difference comes in this: as you search and you do a click, that profit goes into planting trees, and everything that will be earned in that search engine is utilized to increase tree coverage. I would encourage everyone, wherever they are now, whether it's on their phone or their desk phone or an iPad, just to use Ecosia search engine. And this will be a very innovative way to contribute to planting a tree while you do your work electronically. Liz, this is easy to do because I know all of us are using Google search and we are using technology to get along. So it's an opportunity for us to plant trees using technology.
Great. Planting trees without moving from your desk. That sounds pretty good to me. Oh, thank you so much, Mary. It's been a real delight to talk to you today.
My pleasure was mine, Liz. Thank you very much. I have heard a lot about our history, and I'm looking forward to another conversation soon.
And the next podcast will be coming along very soon. So we hope that everybody will tune in for the next in the series of SI Voices. Thank you.
You've been listening to SI Voices, a podcast hosted by Soroptimist International. Follow us on social media for our latest news and updates at Soroptimist Global on Facebook and Instagram, and at Soroptitweet on Twitter. You can also check out our website, soroptimistinternational.org. Please join us next time on SI Voices.